being able to actually have genuine connections and form relationships with the people who come through your door, not once, but continuously, that has been what surprised me the most. I didn't think that I'd be able to connect with people to the level that I've been able to.
This is the Deep in the Weeds podcast. I'm Anthony Huckstep. Growing up in 1990s Sydney, Myra Karakelle rarely met others who shared her unique cultural food combinations, blending her Uzbek and Afghan heritage. Her family's table, however, was a vibrant celebration of these two Central Asian cultures through food. Today, Myra brings these traditions along with a love for Australian sandwiches to her deli, MLK Deli. Myra, how are you?
Good, thank you, Hack. Thank you so much for having me.
It's awesome to get you on the show. You've got a very exciting deli in Sydney and you've just added a second venue. How are things at the moment?
Things are fast-paced at the moment. Things are busier. Things are busier. Days are packed with errands and troubleshooting and a lot of making decisions on the spot, and I sincerely enjoy it. I love the adrenaline and I love the rush. So it's tiring, but it's never a boring moment.
I think you've got an amazing story, which we're going to get into, but the offering that you have sounds fascinating and unique, and I want to dive into that first. How did you decide on what you wanted to do in the deli?
Thankfully, it wasn't a difficult decision. The deli, its purpose was to be simple, but to be delicious. I wanted to be able to provide something that was available to everyone, especially those with certain dietaries. Our focus at the deli is that we're a halal deli, so it is a space where if you abide by certain dietaries, whether it be halal or kosher, it's a space where you can come in and eat with your eyes closed and not have to do the little song and dance about understanding what you can eat, what you can't eat, if something has to be cooked separately or taken out. I wanted a space where you could come in and if you have dietaries, we'll look after you. And if you don't have dietaries, we'll look after you. That was the purpose. But when it comes to what we were going to serve, definitely I wanted to be able to have cold cuts. Cold cuts in the halal and kosher world are often a little bit difficult to navigate through, mostly because they're pork-based. So the cold cuts was one very big focus. And the other was providing the type of food that I grew up with, but in a sandwich, which sounded really crazy, especially to my mum at the time when I was trying to explain to her that the chicken and the meat and the eggplant and the things that we would have on the table at home were to be slightly revised to be between two pieces of bread and in a sandwich offering. She thought I was crazy and she didn't want to understand what I wanted. But when the time came and we did it, she was like, oh my God, I can't believe everyone likes this. And I said, yeah, me too. I'm so glad that everyone loves MJ's chicken or Big Boy. You know, these were staples, things that we always had on the table at home. But now to be able to have that in this sandwich and you come in and you eat it and you enjoy it and you tell me that it's, you know, like your favorite sandwich or it's so unique to any other type of chicken that you've had before. It's really nice hearing that because that's knowing that I was able to share a part of what I grew up with. So yeah, that was the point.
Yeah, it's amazing. And you know, the combinations are all very familiar to you growing up, but maybe not so to your clientele until they get used to it. Is there some that have really taken off that have surprised you?
Absolutely. There's ingredients or spices or fillings in general that a lot of our customers weren't familiar with. And sometimes, you know, like everyone, some people are game and they're ready to take on a new experience, and some people were very timid about it. So it was so interesting. One of the sandwiches, the Big Boy, is Afghan lamb meatballs. So everyone's had I mean, I assume everyone's had a meatball sandwich, right? Usually predominantly Italian or from Subway, the meatball sub, everyone knows it. But it's usually pork, maybe beef, but mostly pork. This is a lamb kofta. It's yeah, a very, very staple Afghan dish. But during the first like 5 to 6 months at the deli, it was one of those menu items that really made me sad because there was this hesitation to have lamb, especially in Surrey Hills. You know, this as soon as you say it's lamb meatballs, you'd get the oh, just that oh, you know, that face and that response. It doesn't say much, but inside it hurt because I don't know. I guess we eat a lot of lamb. Uzbeks, I swear to you, predominantly lamb and then beef. Afghans, both. But in Australia, in Sydney, in Surrey Hills, lamb was not the preferred protein. I think everyone is afraid that it's a little bit gamey or it has a bit of a smell. And even my mum told me this when I said to her, "Look, I'm going to do one sandwich, and this will be." And she said, they don't like lamb. They being white people. They don't like lamb. They think it smells. And I said, but it doesn't. And she said, I know, because that's because of the way that we cook it, the spices that we use and the way that we cook it. We make sure that it doesn't have that gamey taste or smell. But she was hesitant, and she was really good at just right from the start. She was hesitant about it, and I said, no, 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 no. I really want this. This is beautiful. If someone tries it, they'll love it. So we put it on the menu. It was one of the first sandwiches that I knew we were going to sell, and it wouldn't sell. And it was the poorest performing sandwich. And I was so sad because because then we would be purchasing the meat. We would be putting all the labor into it. We would be cooking it, and then it would be waste. And so at home, we were eating a lot of lamb meatballs. Staff meals were lamb meatballs. Home, we were eating lamb meatballs because we had a lot of lamb meatballs to spare. But every day you had to get up and you had to cook it. You had to make sure it was available and it was fresh. But people weren't really eating it. And around the fourth to fifth month, when we were looking at all like the numbers and the reports and the square, you know, top 5 categories and top 5 items, the big boy was just a red, you know, it was a red flag, get it off, it's costing you. And then I turned to my husband and I said, I think we should take Big Boy off the menu. And it hurt to say that because that was one of the main ones from the start. I was like, MJ Chicken and the Big Boy, we need to have the food that I grew up with. So for me to turn around and say the first sandwich we need to cut was not the very vegan or the veggie or the ones that you think, oh, well, no one's going to come to a deli and have non-meat sandwiches. Quite the contrary. But I said, I think we need to scrap the Big Boy. And thank God my husband said to me, don't. He said, don't take it off the menu. Just leave it. I said, why? It's not selling. Like it sells, but it doesn't sell enough. And he said something which I don't agree with, but I agreed with him at the time. And thank God I did, because at least now it leads to a better ending for the story. But he said, if you keep changing the menu and taking things off, people are going to think that you're failing. I don't know if I agree with that. I don't know if I agree with that. But he said, look, there are people who come in and they buy it. And the people who are buying it are repeat customers. So they like it. If you were to take it off the menu now, what's the perception that you're going to be giving? He said, you're new, you're fresh, you're still such a baby, as in like the shop and the business. He said, just keep it. We'll make less, just keep it. So I said, okay, well, because it hurt to take it off anyway. So I said, okay, let's keep it. And we kept it. And those customers who aren't as game or as willing straight away, you know, they take a little bit of time, they have their favorite sandwich, they try another one that's similar, and then one day they have enough trust or confidence in you to want to try something that they don't know. And at the same time, I've built enough rapport with them to be able to joke and say, look, just try it. Just try it. If you don't like it, I'll give you your money back. But you can't say that to every new customer, right? You have to build some rapport. So over time, with the customers that I was comfortable with, and I like to think that I'm pretty comfortable with our customers, like I genuinely see them as friends. I would say just try it. If you don't like it, it's okay, but you like the brisket, so you'll like this, or you like the chicken, so you'll like this for X or Y reason. So they would try it, and then they'd like it. And now it's one of the best-selling sandwiches. But it was a roller coaster of a ride, and it might not seem very significant, but you know, going to answer your question, like going out saying, okay, I'm going to open this shop, and this is the kind of food that I want to sell. I want to sell the kind of food that I grew up with, and then it not selling. kind of sucks. So knowing now that that's turned around and people have tried it and they like it and it's popular and it sells out and that it's enjoyed and it's new to palates and people is a very, very nice feeling. So yeah, that's the kind of food I wanted to serve.
It's an interesting concept because a lot of leftover food works really well in sandwiches. So, like food that's cooked not necessarily for a sandwich can work in that manner. But in a commercial sense, did you have to adapt recipes and change things a little bit to make them work in sandwiches?
Absolutely, absolutely. The MJ chicken that we have, that we eat it very differently. When we have it, we eat it with the korma and we eat it with Afghan bread in morsels. You know, we make little morsels and we eat it like that. But to to cook it and to put it into a sandwich, we understood quickly that those morsels need to be a little bit bigger, because if you're putting that into a sandwich, it looks quite small, and then if it's being slow cooked, it's easily, it starts to become pulled chicken rather than thigh fillets. So we did very quickly change recipes so that it would be better in building a sandwich, just the way that the sandwich would hold and the way that you'd be able to eat it and enjoy it couldn't be 100% authentic to the way that it was served on the table, but it is in its closest form. So that it's still quite a saucy sandwich. That one we can't get that just you just accept that is a saucy sandwich. Probably don't wear white t-shirts like we're wearing right now. But those who've had it, those who love it, they accept it. They come in and they say, "It's okay. I know it's messy, but I'm here for it. I know how to eat it. I'll just lean across the table." So there's some things that you don't want to change and you want to stay true to how it should be enjoyed. But of course, you also have to make sure that it works in the the form that you're going to be serving it as well. You have to be a little bit flexible.
It's very clear that food has been very important in your life throughout your whole life. But as we sort of touched on, your link with food is very different to many people's within your family. Do you have any stories, and dishes and feasts or celebrations that you can share from when you were young that are real sort of core memories for you with food?
Absolutely. So we growing up, we would travel to Uzbekistan, and it was usually an annual trip. We'd go either my mum and myself, or not so much as a whole family. It's got a little bit harder as we were older, but we would frequently travel back to Uzbekistan to see all of our family. And the entire trip, I kid you not, was based around food. So they would want to know what time you're arriving so that they could plan which meal they'd be serving, whether it was breakfast or lunch or dinner. And every neighbor, every relative, anyone who came to visit you would make sure that you were then going to come and visit them so that they could cook for you. You were never visiting anyone for tea, you were visiting everyone for a meal. So if you can imagine the number of these families and friends and the amount of meals you would have to have in a day, it added up really quickly. But love and respect and togetherness is and was always demonstrated via food and feeding. So that is just something that's instilled in me now, and I'm so thankful for it, because for us it's just how we honor each other. The more that someone knows that you prepared something for them, because it's something that's, I don't know, very laborious, or it's your favorite meal, or it's something that's in season. So they want to make sure you have it now, because, the peaches are in season, or they have grapes growing, and whatever it is. But everything somehow is linked to how they can show you their love and their respect for you via the effort they've made in feeding you. This is our love language. I'm very glad for it, but it's hard. It's hard going on these trips and coming back 10 kilos heavier. You can't say no. It's insulting. You must always accept food, and you must always have seconds. So it's a little bit traumatizing, but it's out of love. So it always makes sense.
Now, you got into the hospitality industry a little bit later than many people, but tell us about your career prior to that, because you built quite a career before you took the leap. Take us back to that time.
Absolutely. So straight out of university, I was a primary school teacher. I taught for 4 years. I traveled as I did it. I lived in Istanbul for a number of years and taught over there. Came back to Sydney, thought, okay, I might want to do something else, and started doing my JD in criminal law. I was studying and working at the time. Yeah. Again, the furthest things away from food. I was in my second year studying. I was working at a marketing firm. And I realized, mostly through the firm that I was working at, and not so much university. University I really enjoyed. I didn't like the corporate world. It was so different to my experiences of being a teacher, especially a primary school teacher, because I was with little people, and little people display affection, and they have no filter. They are very genuine. They are very, very genuine with their interactions with you. So that was my 9 to 5. My 9 to 5 was being with little people and having very, very, very wholesome interactions. So when I left that and I went back to uni, that was fine. But while I was working, I noticed that very, very, very big difference in my 9 to 5 interactions. Everything was a little bit more rigid. Everything was a little bit more political. Everything was a little bit more, I want to say professional, but I don't know how to put it best. You had to be a certain way. You had to be a certain way in dealing with clients, and you had to be a certain way with dealing with those you interacted with. I'll try not to be too specific, because obviously it was in Sydney, and I don't want this to to be too obvious. But I didn't enjoy it. I didn't like types of interactions that I was having. They were not as real as being with the kids. So I noticed that I had this dislike for the corporate world. I had this dislike for the interactions. And I didn't know what to do. I was very confused, because I knew that even if I were to finish studying and to become a lawyer, it's not going to be very different. It's still going to be in a very professional setting. It'll be much more thrilling, because I'd be around criminal law, but it would still be a big grown-up job, right? Where you had to be a certain way. And you weren't that teacher anymore that got to play with the kids. So I could do it. It wasn't that I couldn't do it. I just didn't feel the same impact. That's how I can best put it. I didn't feel that impact of what I'm doing. So that was a really hard moment. I wasn't sure what to do. I was very confused. COVID hit, and everything was stripped away. As we all we're at home. We're at home every single day, and all those factors that you have in your day to day that make the mundane things better and more enjoyable were stripped away, right? Because we're not in the office with our friends, or we're not able to go to restaurants or be with our loved ones. Everything was taken away from us. So you saw the bare bones of what you were doing. And I was already so confused about the impact of what I was doing, right? I'm one of those people where I want to know that what I'm doing has some sort of impact, and it has to be one that is positive. And I didn't feel that, especially during COVID when everything was taken away from us. I didn't feel that. So I didn't know what to do. I was very confused. But during COVID, I was also at home cooking more, as most of us, I'm sure, were. But I was listening to you a lot, to be honest. I was listening to you a lot. I was going through all of the cookbooks that I had. I was cooking a lot. I was feeding the people that I could, who lived around me, being my friends and my family and my husband. And I really enjoyed it. And I really enjoyed that interaction of when you would feed someone and they were happy. And it started to hit that dopamine that I used to have when I was a teacher. That little itch was being scratched again. And I loved it. And I kept doing it. So I would speak to my mom. I would go through my cookbooks. I would Google things. I would buy the ingredients. I would cook it all day because we had so much time, right? I'd cook it all day. And then my friends who lived very close to me, I'm in Surrey Hills, we would, if I wouldn't get in the car and drop it off to them, I would get Uber deliveries. Like I'd get an Uber driver to do the package deliveries, and I would just pack everything up in lunchboxes and send it to my friends. And then they'd eat it. They'd pick it up. They'd eat it, and then they'd enjoy it. And it was fun. It was really fun, and it made me happy. And I'm sorry, there's a cat. And then COVID thankfully, not sadly. And then COVID thankfully ended, and we went back into the office space, and went back into trying to resume real life. And I was cooking less and less because we were able to go to restaurants again, and we were able to eat out again. But I was also, during that time, I was filming what I was doing, and I was making little videos of it, and I posted on my Instagram page. And it was just, 1 minute reels of me preparing the dish and how it would turn out and the recipe. I don't know why I started doing it, but I that little bit of creativity I really enjoyed. So when COVID ended, I was doing that less and less. And some of my very, very supportive friends would tell me that, oh, you haven't uploaded any reels. You don't cook anymore. I said, no, I don't have time, but I will. But I realized that I was back at work and I had less time to do that, and I wasn't happy again. That feeling was wearing away again, and I was back to having the very professional, I hope this email finds you well interactions, and I hated it so much. And then I realized, you know what, this isn't for me. That I just like being around food. I like eating, I like feeding, I like sitting around a table where there's food. This is what makes me happy. This is what I want to do. And it may sound very cliche, but I want to make sure that whatever I'm doing in life, I'm happy. At least I've done what I can, right? At least I've given my circumstances and the blessings that we have being where we are. Let me work with this. So I spoke to my husband and I said, I think I'm going to quit my job. And he said, do it. I've been telling you to quit your job for the past year. Just quit your job. I think I want to quit my job. And can we open a shop? By we, because life savings, right? And stocks and everything had to be liquidated. And he said, oh, what do you mean? and I said, just give me like a little shop, like just a hole in the wall. I just want a hole in the wall, and I'll just make sandwiches, and it'll be fine. That's what I want to do. And I explained it to him. The elevator pitch was a little bit better than what I just told you, but he said, okay. He said, all right. He said, okay, like bless him. He said, that's fine. Do it. He said, do what you have to do to get there, but I think we can do it. He said, you have to find a place. So I was on the commercial listing straight away. And living in Surrey Hills, I just always walk around looking at the for lease signs. And, and, and then I had to also look as to what I needed to have to be able to open a food venue in terms of the council and food and health and everything. So I had my checklist. I knew all the things I had to do in the next 9 to 12 months to be able to open a shop. And I quit, and I didn't tell anyone. The, I didn't tell anyone what the plan was. My parents didn't even know that I had resigned. My husband and my best friend knew, and obviously the colleagues but they didn't know what I was doing. Only my husband and my best friend knew what I was doing. Nobody else knew. My parents still thought I had a 9 to 5 job. They believe in having a degree, having a safe job, being safe and comfortable, and working that job. So I didn't tell them straight away. I worked on it. I just worked on it. Every single day with my laptop, I went through that checklist, and I got the training that I needed. I got the certificates that I needed. I just learned. I just wanted to be a sponge and absorb everything I needed to know. And I got to a point where I thought, okay, I'm ready. I'm ready. Let's start looking at leases to sign. And that was it. And so when I signed the lease, I went and visited my parents and told them that I was quitting my job. The job, the job that I'd quit 9 months ago. So I'm not going to share them this link, and I hope they don't listen to this. But they were confused. They were confused. They were confused because I said that I'm quitting my job and obviously quitting uni. as well. And I'm going to open a sandwich shop. And they said, what kind of sandwich shop? And I said, I just a sandwich shop where we sell the kind of food that I grew up with, and then cold cut meats as well. And we'll have coffee, and I'll bake things, and it will just be this little place where you come in and you feel comfortable and you feel appreciated and you eat. And they were like, but you have such a good job. And my dad said, you have a good job, you have a good salary, you have a degree, you're studying. And he said, you go on holiday every year, you know, you're able to afford what you want, you live comfortably. Why do you want to do this? And my only answer was, I'm not happy. I said, I'm not happy. All these things are not making me happy. And it was at that point that they said, okay. They said, okay. And that is kind of all they said. But I got the lease, got them to come into the shop, and my dad did the entire fit out with me. My husband still had his job at the time, so he was helping where he could on the weekends. But every single day, we would go into that shop, go to Bunnings, and just work. So I was the apprentice. My dad was the lead foreman because I had a limited amount of money, right? We had our life savings and that was it. So I couldn't afford someone to come and do this fit out for me. I had my dad, and thank God I did. And we did it, and we created a space, and it was beautiful, and people showed interest. And I'll never forget the first time Broadsheet DM'd me on the Deli account. I nearly fell off my chair. And they said, we've noticed that you're opening up this little place, and we walked past it. Are you open to talking to us? And I didn't know how to contain my excitement in the message. Pretty sure it was in caps lock with just yes. And that's when it became real. It became real, and then the momentum grew, and the ball was rolling, and the shop opened, and people came, and then people kept coming, and Broadsheet came, and good food came, and timeout came, and all these people came, all these people that and we even spoke, you and I, on a DM, and I screenshotted it and sent it to my friend. But I was like, these people that we in the industry that we listen to and we look up to and we follow and we respect know about this. You know, and that was something that I had never imagined. So that was a moment that was very, very, very special. And yeah, and it was only like maybe 6 months ago, because Surrey Hills is now 15 months old. 6 months ago, my mum, who comes in a couple of days a week to help cook in the kitchen, at the end of the day, she said, you know, every day when your dad would come home from doing the fit out with you, we'd talk and he'd say, I don't know what she's doing. And I don't know how this is going to go because she's putting so much effort into this. And she said, and we'll just say, we hope it goes well. And she said, and now we're so glad you did it because it seems to be going well. But okay, if this is the closest thing that I can get to my parents saying, we love you, we're proud of you, you did the right thing, I'll take it. I'll definitely take it. But that was when I laughed because it confirmed that I thought that they thought I was crazy, and they did up until like 7 months ago. But at least they see that I'm happy and that what I'm doing seems to be going well. So it's been a fun ride. It's been a fun ride that surprised everyone, including myself. But let's see. Let's see what number 2 does.
Well, hospitality businesses are notoriously hard work and also with slim margins. What surprised you the most about running a hospitality business?
What has surprised me the most? What surprised me the most has been the connections that you actually make with the people who walk through the door. I've always said this, to whether it be with my husband or with our team or with my friends. Like, I hate things that are transactional. I hate that very, very rigid transactional. Yep, it's $12.95. Tap, thanks. That I hate that. It gives me the ick. So being able being able to actually have genuine connections and form relationships with the people who come through your door, not once but continuously, out of their support for you or out of their desire to eat your food, that has been what surprised me the most. I didn't think that I'd be able to connect with people to the level that I've been able to. The customers who come now, half of them I'm friends with, whether it be on Instagram, they have my number, or so I'm probably the least professional person, but that's what I wanted. So it's okay. But that's what surprised me the most. The fact that you can form real interactions and real relationships in this digital age. You definitely still can, even in a place as busy and as fast moving as Surrey Hills. It can happen.
I find it extraordinary that originally you just wanted a hole in the wall where you could sell sandwiches, and now you've opened a second venue. What's it been like? Tell us about getting into that position and thinking that a second venue would be good, and then executing it and replicating kind of what you're doing.
The second venue, I was very, very scared about. I wasn't sure if it's something that I should do, because I could not imagine splitting my attention away from service. That was my biggest hesitation. How could I possibly be away from a place and a concept that I spend like 95% of my time on? And my husband was that little voice in my ear. He just kept saying, I think it's a good time. I think it's a good time. We need to open a second shop. And he was working. He was working his job. He's an engineer. So he was working. He was going to work every day. He would help me on the weekends. But he's the person telling me to open a second shop. So I said to him, if you want me to do this, you need to quit your job. Because there's no way that I can be in both those shops at once. So that was my ultimatum. And I think it was a fair one. I think it was really fair. I said, I can't be in two places at once and it's really hard. So he said, okay. He said, okay, if we find the right place, I'll quit. So that was challenge accepted. We found the right place. The reason why we chose the place that we did is because over the last 15 months, all the customers who've come in, if you're open and you listen, they have a lot to tell you. You just have to be listening. So customers would come in, especially on the weekends, to Surrey Hills where there's barely any parking. And the first thing they'll say to me, if I was serving, which I usually am, I'm in front of house, they'll say, I drove 40 minutes to get here. And that's a bloody intimidating thing to hear. They said, I drove 40 minutes to get here, or it took me half an hour to find parking, or these little, not in a negative way, but that is what they would present you with. So my only response was, where did you come from? And I'd thank them, but I'd ask, where did you come from? And they would tell me. And a lot of this information was, if it wasn't like the Inner West or Bondi, which is still like just the outskirts of the CBD, right? It's not too much of a trek. If they were traveling, it was from the south or the west. It was always the south or the west. So I was collecting this data over the past 15 months, and the repeat customers who'd come in, or the new people who'd come in and tell me, I would just always ask, where are you coming from? If they were telling me they were the first time customer. And then when it came to choosing a place, we said, okay, do we want the south or the west? And we went to the south. We had a look at the south, and we liked the south. So we went on to that commercial listing again, and we looked at a few places, and this Cogra Bay site popped up. And it was a dream come true. It was a corner location. It was all windows. It had water views. And most importantly, though, it had a grease trap and it had an exhaust already installed. So we said, okay, we can afford this. This is a space that is slightly bigger than Surrey Hills, because we definitely have a major space issue in Surrey Hills. And it's within the proximity of Surrey Hills. It's close enough. It's a 20-minute drive for us to get there every day. So it's something that's not far-fetched. So we made an appointment, had an inspection, and said, okay, let's sign this lease. And then Shop 2 happened. Well, it took 6 months to do the fit out again with my dad and my husband, but then Shop 2 happened.
Tell us about the clientele. Is the clientele different in Surrey Hills to the new venue?
Absolutely. Very, very, very different. The locals that are in Kogarah Bay are bigger families. There's it's not the city. It's definitely not the city. In Surrey Hills, we have couples, we have friends, we have very smaller units of people living and visiting us. But in Kogarah, even though it's been 3 days, everyone comes as a group of four or five. The families come to eat. So that's, we need a high chair and we need marshmallows for the baby chinos because we keep selling them. So it's the clientele are different. The clientele are very, very different. They are the clientele who kind of frequent us on the weekends at Surrey Hills. That's how I can best put it. I haven't seen a single person in a suit, whereas in Surrey Hills, it's usually a lot of polished looking people or artists, cool, young people like that come into shop at the beautiful Swift shops and op shops. So very different, very, very different, a different type of trend, a different type of demographic. But it's only been 3 days. So my data is quite small.
What's it been like with your husband there full time as well? It's the dynamic been interesting for you guys to juggle?
It's been a relief, more so than anything. It's been a relief having him there every day. We kind of know our roles, even though we knew our roles before we even formalized the roles with each other. He's very, very, very nice in, I guess, deciding, because I definitely didn't impose it, but he decided, he's like, look, you're the boss. This is your thing. You're the boss. I'm here to support you, but this is Myra's little kitchen. It's not Kadir's little kitchen. So I said, okay, I'll take it, but it definitely wasn't imposed. I'm mostly front of house when it comes to dealing with people or dealing with problems or dealing with anything to do with service. It's always preferred that it's me. And I don't mind that. That's totally fine. He likes to be the muscle. He likes to be the muscle. He likes to do all the lifting, do all the hard stuff, do all the dirty things, and I love him for it. Those are the roles. He's pretty kind in letting this be a ship that has one captain, but a really, really good assistant on the side.
I think it's amazing the leap of faith that you've taken to change careers to do something that you love. It's not something that many people actually end up doing. They just dream about doing. Has this experience changed you?
Oh, absolutely. I'm a little bit of a risk taker. I like jumping and finding out if I'll land. I calculate risks to like the safest margin. If it's safe enough, I'll do it, because if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out, right? I thought even if we take this on and we do this, if it fails, look, it'll be sad, but I still have degrees. I still have a job that I can go back to. I'm not going to be out of work, hopefully, but it's always worth the risk. Like, just risk it for the biscuit. And I'm so glad that I did. I'm so glad that I did, because I'm genuinely happy. I've slept less than I've ever had. I'm more stressed than I've ever been. The responsibilities don't end, but I'm happy. I love what I do, and I do not care if it sounds cliche. I'm happy. I've been happy for the past 2 years, and I aim to continue being happy. And I fundamentally believe that if your conditions allow you to take a risk to do something that you want to do it.
That's amazing advice. It's incredible what you've built over just the last couple of years, and now you've got the two venues. How do you see, the next sort of 2 years? Do you see more venues, or are you kind of happy with kind of the way things are growing at the moment?
I'm happy. I'm definitely very happy and content with the way things are going at the moment. I have one more thing up my sleeve. If I can get that done, I will tap out of opening any more venues and just sitting back and letting them all roll. But if I can just do one more thing now that's become part of this very addictive project, I'll say, you know what, three is a good spot. Let's keep it. Let's keep it to three. But let's see. I've been asked by a few people if we're opening we're open to franchising or doing things like that. And I thought, well, no, because the whole point of this was for me to be in a space and an environment doing something that I was happy in and I had impact in. It doesn't make sense for me to branch out so quickly and so rapidly and to franchise it. Look, we all need to make money. We all need to survive. By no means am I saying that it's not financially attractive. But if success, like for me, isn't just measured by how much money we're making, I would be very happy to be making enough money to be comfortable and to be able to live. But the success really is in being happy that you are doing something every single day that you want to keep doing every single day. That's what I wanted. So having 10 venues, 20 venues, franchising isn't really attractive. I want to be connected to these venues that we have. I want to be in the space. I want it to be comfortable for everyone. And I feel like replicating something too many times can cause a significant drop in that connection and that atmosphere that you can provide. But I could be wrong. That's just my opinion.
Well, I think it's a wonderful view and also wonderful advice as well, Myra. It's been absolutely amazing to have you on Deep in the Weeds finally. An absolute honour. I can't wait to see where you take things now. So please keep in touch and we'll catch up again soon.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
This is the Deep in the Weeds podcast. I'm Anthony Huckstep. Stay tuned as we take a deep dive into the lives of the incredible people who ply their trade in the food and hospitality sector. Special thanks to executive producer Rob Locke for making this all happen. Follow us on Instagram at Deep in the Weeds Podcast or email us at podcast@deepintheweeds.com.au. Thanks to executive producer Rob Locke for making this all happen. Stay safe and be well.